Good morning, wherever you are from. I cannot tell you for the life of me if my mic audio is working, so while we're in the pause menu, just give me a few moments, just cause I'll be brutally honest, one hell of a day it has been, and I am nowhere near set for this event, which is poor on my behalf, but yeah, it doesn't help getting home only 10 minutes ago. It is not ideal, to say the least. As if I turn that on, there we go. We have got some cars out on track. For those who want a proper introduction, I'll give it now. Welcome, it's PSGL PSF2 Season 42 of... I don't know why I'm about to say of, but it's round 5 of season 42 here at Zandvoort. I'm just trying to get the standings graphics up while we talk. Hello Indigo, can you just confirm you can hear me alright? I'm doing great, thanks. You? As we are getting some cars working their way round the track, as I'm still scurrying around trying to do the standings. That's perfect, Indigo. Thank you for confirming it. Hello to R6i in the Lewis Hamilton profile picture. I believe that is, as Priory Bell B sets your fastest lap. I've pretty much set these standings up as Provatox rounding out the final corner in the Scarlet Red Ferrari. What will it be? It will be provisional pole. It's 2 tenths clear of Bell B as we go. Respect for you doing solo comms. I know it's stressful. I've done solo comms many a times in SRL, CRL, all sorts of different leagues, and saying that I've probably just broke a PSGL commentary rule, but hey ho, they're just a few name drops, nothing too in detail. This is probably the first ever league where I've had a dual comms position, where I had Nathan Taylor alongside me last season. He was absolute brilliant, so shout out to him. He's now in PCF4, which I do wish he's doing amazing in. He said he may come knocking on the door once or twice, seeing if he can get involved, which I would really love to see, and me and Nathan team up once again would be like a match made in heaven. Yes, I am a big Nathan Taylor glazer. Come at me for it. Anyways, we have got some cars going around as I'm just making sure my setup's all right. As you've got Nick over the line in the McLaren to go 4th fastest, Yannick up next in the Haas, and it's P6. Mattis Gooder in 14th, and it's Bill Souza about to start a flyer, so we'll hopefully get to see the vast majority of the Aston Martins run, as it's a shame I didn't manage to do last week. I was at an interview for a radio station, that's why I was absent, but Mattis Gooder goes 6th, hoping to break through into the top 5. Hi to you, Bobby. Hope you're doing well, mate. As you can tell, I'm one of those commentators. I'm more than happy to talk away to the fan base. I do have free comms, as you know, and when partner isn't there, yeah, I completely get what you mean. It is stressful when alone, but the vast majority of my time as a commentator is solo. But then one thing I've noticed is how PSGL recommend 2 commentators a div. I've been alone all season. I've had a reserve round 1 and a trial round 3. Then I wasn't here last week, and then I was solo in Baku, solo here again, and probably solo for the rest of the season, which I'm really happy about, because you just get to hear my very unappealing voice for about another 7 hours this season, which who doesn't love, as Bill Souza is showing us that he loves Zandvoort with an early lap 4,000ths up on Bill Souza's. Kalu saying Indigo and Milan are class. Well, hopefully you'll find me just as good as them if you're tuning in for the first time, as the Aston Martin, who is currently only, I believe that is 11th in the standings, goes to the top of timing charts. Bill Souza had such a strong end to last season it was remarkable as a reserve driver, as Provatox is on an outlap. But a little update on the standings for you, just because I am hardly equipped with all this wisdom and knowledge as such. But VCarb are tied on the top of the constructors with McLaren. They both share 56 points to their name, with Haas only 1 point behind, and then Mercedes on 35, Sauber 19, Red Bull 17, Aston 9, Alpine 7, Williams 6, and Ferrari in last on 3 points so far this season, with Thiago leading the drivers by 7 points over Nick. And as you can tell, Nico is not present, nor is Ward, but both McLarens are here with Nick and Basso, rather than Nick and the traditional Lucas. So we will hopefully see a little change in scenery as Provatox is about to start his first fly lap, and probably the first fly lap I'm going to be commentating in a long while. Last time I actually commentated was last Wednesday, but before that it was Austria this season in PSGL, really showing how little I do this as a bit of a kickabout. I watch streamers every race starts at 200 to help me prep. That is completely fair. Ward's is, Nino isn't. No, I'm pretty sure Ward's isn't Nino. I'm not sure. I haven't seen any updates in terms of the usernames, but I would have thought TF10 Ward's is TF10 Ward still, as Provatox chucking the car through turn 7 and 8 there, keeping it all stable, just showing how unnervy this Ferrari lineup currently is, with their best result being an 8th place this season. And I'm pretty sure that 8th was Christian last time out at Kota, which did seem to be a very hectic race. I'm hoping you had some form of coverage. I think it was by Alfie, if you did have any. If not, well, you've missed out. But anyways, Provatox over the line to 8th quickest, goes quicker than his teammate has done so. Basso is rounding the final corner to do a flyer. Let's go for hopefully a more in-depth lap, as overtake and DRS in full effect as they work their way up towards turn 1. There's an Aston and Alpine departing the pit lane as the McLaren chucks his papaya and silver livery through the first few corners into the carousel. Turn 4, a very easy corner to get wrong, so many lines you could take as the Alpine dashes to the inside to get out of the way, as through the infamous valley section goes Basso, is 47 thousandths up in the first sector. Those 47 thousandths should put him just above Diogo Silva, who is currently P15 for Alpine, slightly missing the apex there, and now getting back on the move, just releasing that throttle after the 50 bollard reeled the car in, as yellow flags all out through sector 2 and 3 as cars are trying to reorganise their order, try and get track position, as there is a Sauber on the apex as Basso coming at right old speed. At least I believe that was Mattis Gullit got out the way on time as Basso now round out the corner for such a quick lap. It's less than 1 minute and 9 seconds here, and he crosses to go 13th fastest, as I believe you have got one of the Astons on an outlap about to start a fly. You've got Spiga, who is speeding up to the final 2 corners with a 10.5 up on his time so far. This could be provisional pole for the Mercedes driver, who's 4th in the driver's standings. What will it be? It will be provisional pole, and by good 800ths of a second, as Priory Belbelby next up goes to 7th. Then it's Harm going into the final sector, with Nick working their way up towards the final corner as well, using none and overtake mode. There's so many different deploy modes these drivers opt for throughout a lap, as Nino goes to the top in the Racing Bulls. Nick immediately takes it away. What about Harm? Into the pits goes the Williams. He can do no harm in this case. A very cheesy joke from my behalf, but Bill Souza 66 thousandths of a second up as things stand under the Louis Vuitton banner And straight on the throttle. It's now a drag race up to the line. How quick can this Aston Martin be in a straight line? It's a British green racing machine, but that racing machine enters the pit lane and calls it quits for that lap, as I believe Christian has just entered the final sector. He's 58 thousandths down on his current time, which is currently quick enough for 13th as things stand, but come the end of the final 6 minutes it should be probably only quick enough for last on the grid. That's how much track evolution can be here in such an elite division, as Christian managing to pip himself just ahead of Yannick in P12 with 400ths of an improvement that time round. Yannick 5 seconds down, Danilo 2 seconds down. No one really on a push, but Mattis Gullit 57 thousandths up. Not up, down after the first sector. What about the middle sector? Does he find time? He finds a bit, but he's still near enough 400ths of a second down. He needs a miraculous final sector to A, go quicker, and B, go quicker than his own teammate of Prairie Bell B, who will get priority at that Sauber garage, will be determined over these next few laps, as Mattis Gullit does find time. He goes to P6, and it's only 1,000th of a second quicker than Harm in the Williams, and that is definitely going to put a wooden stake through Harm's heart, as that will definitely hurt someone's ego, probably Williams more than anyone else, as that is the first 2 sets of runs over and done with, which is safe to assume, as Christian limping back to the pit lane. Mattis Gullit also working their way round, as we just continue to wait and see what will happen in this qualifying session. As I do not think Mattis Gullit is going to do another lap. I can tell he is in a low fuel mode, which probably does mean he is not going to opt for another run. If he does, he may end up DNFing from this session in the progress. As now everyone is in the pit lane. Usually, if I actually got home from college on time, you would have some commentary notes I'd run through here, but unfortunately I've only got back 24 minutes ago, 1 minute to 7 which really does show my time management is something that needs improving upon, as we are getting some drivers coming out on track now for the final 3 minutes 20 seconds of qualifying. A lap, a minute and 8 seconds for Diogo Silva, and only 8 tenths quicker if you were Nick in that McLaren. But anyways, that was my brief drink race. That's why you're hearing the jingling of some ice cubes in a cup. A very relaxing and soothing sound, as it spares me some moments of sanity before the manic that is about to come in the next 2.5 minutes time, as Christian is about to enter the final sector drinking water or alcohol. I'm under 18, so I think that should answer your question, mate. I'm also one of those who refuse to drink, no matter the circumstance. Even if my mates were 28 drinks in, trying to convince me, I'd say no and I'd stick to a Coke or Pepsi. Anyways, Christian up to the first corner, hoping that the red Ferrari will gallop their way a bit higher up in the timing ladder. It's only 9th and 12th for them so far. Indigo says keep it that way. I will definitely keep it that way. But Christian chucking it through the first few corners, almost like there's no remorse. He knows that this lap must be spot on And currently it doesn't look like it will be, as there's a Racing Bulls who does not go off the racing line, 84 thousandths up, and Christian having to make evasive action at the end of the first sector, definitely putting him backwards a bit as he's gone off in turn 7. Big mistake for the Scuderia. It's not ideal whatsoever with such little time in this session, and most drivers only fueling up for one run, and that is probably the Ferrari's one run wasted here in Netherlands. As Spiga 49 thousandths down, half a tenth is what he has to find before he has a chance of going to the top of the timing ladder. So going through turns 8 and now turns 9, 2 long swooping hairpin-esque corners, and now into DRS zone. The green flashing holographic is what's telling you DRS is in full use if you're new to the game. 73 thousandths down, which is not ideal whatsoever, but you can see it's absolute traffic paradise here in Zandvoort, and that did not help Spiga whatsoever. He has now backed off. He will not be completing a run, but the next driver up to the final few corners is this Williams of Harm. He's a tenth up so far. Spiga has retired in the pit lane. That is a shame for the Mercedes. The best start possible for him is third, but can this Williams demote him a place? He's within a tenth so far, so as long as he doesn't drop, he will do it. He will go to the top. A brilliant lap from the Williams driver. What about Basso in the McLaren? He goes up to P10. Priro Bell B going slow. Bill Souza working their way through the middle sector. You've got Provatox also pushing. NB72 up next to the line goes to 9th on the grid. You've got Danilo next in the Mercedes. Can the Silver Arrow maybe hit a bullseye? No, they'll only go to 13th as Diogo Silva pushing through the final corner, trying to get the toe off Bell B, and it's not going to be strong enough whatsoever. Provatox pushing around final corner, but so is Bill Souza, and Bill Souza, a brilliant lap, 7 thousandths of a second quicker than Harm, and if you do the maths, only 9 thousandths split your top 3 here in PSGL PSF2. This is why these guys are the second best set of PS drivers in the planet, because gaps definitely cannot get closer than that. The Haas and the Williams will both be devastated to know they have missed out on pole position here in Zandvoort to the Aston Martin of Souza. However, if you look at the gap in the top 7, it's only 83 thousandths according to my very brief and quick calculations, which just shows the pure class and standards of this division. As I can guarantee you, that was one hell of a qualifying session, and you're going to get a lot more than where that came from in a few moments time for the main race. As here is your starting grid. It's the Brazilian of Bill Souza who has managed to put Aston Martin on the top here by 7 thousandths over Harm. Then it's Passy, Nick in 4th, Nino in 5th. It is in fact towards the Lebanese driver. Spiga 6th, Matis Gullit 7th, Provatox in 8th, Bell B, NB72, Basso, Yannick, Axel, Danilo, Christian, and then Diogo Silva. Round off your grid. 6 tenths is your field spread out of these 16 drivers here today. If that gives you any details on how this race is going to unravel, I'm telling you it's going to be chaos. And the rain of all conditions is not going to make life any easier for these drivers. As it's going to be very difficult into turn 1. The traction zones will be all over the place, as we have been told a very early ready up time. Usually we don't get told until the ready up, but Nick has been so generous to tell us it's 32 minutes past the hour in which we will go underway. It's currently half past the hour, according to my 4 clocks. So if you're 1 minute either side, I'd recommend checking your clock, or I'll go and check all 4 of mine. Irrespective of that, we do not have long to wait. That is 100 seconds from now is when you're racing, according to this clock. 72 according to the others. So yeah, enough talking about clocks. But anyways, that is it all. But yeah, if you want to quickly go run downstairs, grab a bag of crisps, grab a bag of popcorn, grab a Coke or Pepsi, go at it. You are going to be eyes are locked onto the action, just like a hawk, and I'm going to be glued to it like a fucking mosquito. Sorry for the language, I'm being straight up here when I say that, but trust me, it will be one hell of a race here today. As we are going to find out who is going to take the top step tonight. Is it going to be Harm? Is it going to be Spiga? Is it going to be Bill Souza? Or is it going to be some other force known to be reckoned with? Maybe Nick, Yannick, Mattis Gullit even. So many names in the mix for today's race. It is so unpredictable, and that is exactly why we love the realm of esports. It's near enough impossible to predict who will win, as the lights now flicking up one by one. 5 are up now, and they're all gone in a fairly droggy Zandvoort. But it's Bill Souza versus Harm up towards the first corner. Is it the Williams or the Aston Martin who leads? It's going to be the Aston who holds the outside, as the Williams trying to squeeze their way by. All cars getting some big wheel spin on the exit, trying to get their foots down. But it's Harm who have the inside for turn 4. Bill Souza making a switch back to try and lunge it round the outside. And it's going to be the Aston Martin who will get better traction, the wider line, the perfect way to go. And that gives them the lead once again, as Nino versus Nick going wheel to wheel, and the Racing Bulls getting so close to going into the back of Passy in that Haas, putting pressure all over them in this early stage, as Yannick trying to make a move in the other Haas on Provatox to the inside. Bill Souza is disconnected, not ideal whatsoever for the man who started on pole and managed to keep it after the first 2 corners, as Yannick rounds the 9th corner, I think it is, trying to get my numbers right, as up towards the drastic chicane to the inside goes Yannick. They will be ahead of Provatox, as so much chaos is going on just because of that disconnected car. This is kind of why you need to have ghosting off in some leagues, as Nick, Nino and Harm all working their way into the top 3, and Bill Souza continuing to plummet down the pecking order. Passy in the Haas having about 7 cars all over the back of him, as you can see Mattis Gullit and Spiga and even Yannick trying to go free of press there, but Spiga to the inside of Bill Souza, as there was, I believe it was Yannick having a little moment of their own, as cars throwing it wheel to wheel. The 2 Saubers going to war, both on the intermediates. Is it going to be Bell B, or is it going to be Mattis Gullit who is ahead? It's going to be Mattis Gullit who has to settle for second best. That's your answers. Yannick has got past Bill Souza, and now it's Provatox's turn. Surely they will have the pace to do it, as they end up getting into a bit of a mess with the Aston, and both of them off the road front wing missing for Protox, which is such a shame. At least for the others, it will mean they do not have to worry a bit about any of this chaos, as there's Nick and Harm going all at it, wheel to wheel, trying to fight it towards turn 10, the McLaren ahead of the Williams in this race. But Wards, or Nino shall we call him, leading the field after the first 2 laps, and by a massive 2-second lead. This is definitely what the wet or wetter setups do in the favour of these drivers, as you can really just work out who's on what, as after the first 3 laps, 6 places gained for both Diogo Silva and Yannick. Credit is due to them. Well, 7 places unfortunately lost by Protox, as everyone on a set of intermediates. The Ferrari limping down the pecking order now, probably to a new set of inters that could take them to the end of this race and maybe bring them back in with some form of the undercut, as it's all going to be about who can get the better of the others. Protox saying he's done with this game. That is not reassuring whatsoever for the Ferrari driver, who has had a very upsetting season. Did not start in Austria or Kota, did not finish in Baku, and 16th in the season opener, and at the rear end of the field here today in Zandvoort. At least the only driver to have had worse of a season is Axel, with 17th and then 3 DNFs back to back to back to back, as Yannick says P1 today, and Coda cheering on the 2 Williams. Let's hope they do well. They really do need it for their championship. 6 points so far with the places in which they are in at the moment. They're already looking at about 14. Don't quote me on that exactly, however. As you can see, Yannick trying to put the pressure on to Speaker, the Haas driver, giving it absolutely everything he's got against the Mercedes, as Speaker really is running a one-man race in this constructors for their team. 33 of the 35 points to this Mercedes, fending off 5th place, as there goes Yannick to the inside. Can he make it? A bit of a pinch by Spiga. Unfortunate for the Haas driver, just have to knuckle back down and focus up, as otherwise it may be quite difficult. However, if you look at Yannick's form, he had P3 and P3 in Baku and Austria, then 2 pointless races either side of it. According to that trend, he should hopefully be back with a podium today, or it's going to be another pointless race. So we are just going to wait and see what will happen there. There's 32 more laps of racing, as in 22 minutes laps time you have got PSF1 and PSF3, which is about to start up, as Ward's 3.7 clear and fastest man out on track. You can just see he is in a world of his own. Nick 1.2 clear of Harm, as the field really splitting up, as there is Yannick round the inside of Spiga. The Mercedes looking almost defenceless as they enter the carousel, going to have to try and dig deep, but instead taking a tighter line on the exit, try and get more traction as they enter the valley. Will the Mercedes be able to put the aggression on against the Haas driver? No, they won't, unfortunately, as it does look like it's just going to be one of these races here in the wet at Zandvoort, as these drivers definitely are being tested to their very limits today, with some conditions that they may have not anticipated coming into it, with all their hours of prep. Surprisingly, most of these drivers do actual in-game sessions like qualifying or races, rather than the traditional league races time trial, which does show some vast difference. As you can see, Bell B trying to get the throttle on, just so uncertain with it, as Mario's saying let's go Yannick, as Ward's again a 21.9. You can really tell the track is drying up just due to how much quicker these laps are getting, every single time these drivers cross the line to start a new one. It is purely insane at how good these drivers are at improving in these conditions. As Mattis got it, lovely move on Danilo, and Basso even capitalising in that McLaren on the Mercedes. That is them up into P11 as Danilo looking under threat from Christian in the Ferrari, trying to take a tighter line on the exit of the carousel, hoping to gallop over the silver arrow and take himself up into P12 sometime soon. You can just see how close that Ferrari is getting, almost like they're pushing or shoving even that Mercedes through each and every corner, getting on those higher raised curbs, trying to use every single bit of momentum as possible to see whether or not they can mount a charge on Danilo, who is just up ahead, getting a bit squirrelish on the exit of turn 9. Christian now using some battery to close in ever so slightly, just not enough to go for a lunge this time round. But something is brewing towards the front. Wards again, fastest lap, but Nick going even quicker. But the fight for P3 very much is on, as Passy within half a second of Harm and Yannick did creep within that of Passy on the previous lap. So expect things to heat up between those three in their pursuit for a podium here today. As Christian going through the first few corners once again, they've got Axel pushing them along in the Red Bull, taking wider line this time the Ferrari, seeing whether or not they'll be able to put the pressure on the Mercedes this time round. Looks ineffective through the valley, but who could go for a surprise attack is that Red Bull. You can just see how close they truly are to the car ahead. It's almost like they are sniffing the exhausts of that Scuderia, as Christian getting a bit shaky on the throttle. Not ideal whatsoever when they're trying to defend 13th place. Yes, it may be pointless, but this could be revolutionary for the outcome of the race, because it could mean different strategies kick in, as we may end up seeing a dry race at some point, as the gap in the top three, 7 seconds. But Passy in that Haas really starting to get quicker. You could probably tell that the Haas's are on drier base setups, because they are going so much more aggressively than that Williams is in these conditions. It looks like the car's a lot more poised, a lot more sharper in its steering capabilities, a lot more precise is probably the best way to put it. But precision is what Haas need in this stage. They're 1 point behind the constructors leaders, and 2 of the top 2 drivers are ahead of them, and that is Wards and Nick in the Racing Bulls and the McLaren. One of the joint constructors leaders of VCarb and McLaren, hoping to keep them in the highest place possible come the end of this race. However, as things do stand, it should be Wards who gives Racing Bulls the constructors title lead into Brazil in a week's time, according to these current calculations. But we are about to break the 120 barrier. Nick does a 20.1 as Passy looking to the inside, then going for a dummy to the outside, as Harm definitely trying to cause some damage of some form, pushing Passy straight to the white line, knowing that he has to defend with all the width possible, trying to use the entire width of the nation behind this Williams to hold a charging Haas duo at bay for as long as possible, as we are a quarter of the race in, as we are now just waiting for this to really kick off, because at some point someone's going to gamble the dry tyres. It's going to get to that stage, as there's Harm who's gone deep, and Passy goes straight in down the inside and straight through, but Harm's going to go wheel to wheel for as long as possible, ends up settling in for 4th place. It's such a shame that Williams going deep, getting caught off guard, almost caught napping here. It's a bit too late for a nap. You're better off going straight to bed if you were me, because I'll be honest, it was either sleep or do this. But the dedication is clear, as Ward's dedication to setting fastest lap is also clear, as that is the 8th fastest lap he's set this race, as Coda saying it was smart to back out. It definitely was, because that could have got very rough come turn 10 with a Williams on the inside, poised to try and hold the place against the charging Italian, who is in pursuit of the top 2 in this race, 9 seconds back from the race lead. Is it salvageable? Possibly, with a purple sector just being set that time round in the first sector. This is definitely some improvement for the Haas. They've cleared the back marker they were trying to pass, or should we really call him back marker? Let's say the sitting duck more than anything, as Yannick hoping to either push that duck along a bit more or just leave it in the dust again, as they are all definitely finding improvements in their lap times, as we're about to see whether or not Wards can set a new fastest lap. He in fact does, and we are now within the 1:19s. The laps definitely falling down to earth as Harm goes to the inside, Yannick to the outside, and you can now see the 2 Hasses, 3rd and 4th. Absolute quality here. As what is quality about this division? 4 winners in the opening 4 races. It was Tiago round 1, with Spiga round 2, Passy round 3, and then Nick in round 4. And with the way things are going, we could get a 5th race winner in round 5 on the basis that Nick and Passy do not win, and it's Wards who takes it home in that Racing Bulls, as Provatox setting the fastest lap now. He's on 8 lap old inters, so it's definitely showing, as I believe Bill Souza could be in for a bit of a gamble in that Aston Martin. It indeed is. It's the white wall hard compounds that are going on to the Aston Martin, limping down the pit lane now, about to come out, with Wards fastly approaching the first corner, who sets another fastest lap. It's an 18.2 for the Racing Bulls now. We're pretty much at that crossover period. The dries could near enough be just as quick as the hard. Not dries as quick as hards, dries as quick as the wets. That's the best way to put it. But you can now see Wards easily getting by. Bill Souza following the blue flags, as you can see. Christian versus Axel into turn 1, the Ferrari on the inside of the Red Bull. Red Bull trying to tuck in on the exit, see whether or not they can do the good old switcheroo. Didn't manage to pull it off this time, and they will just continue to wait a while longer, as that is Axel getting a bit rattly on the throttle, a bit of a slide from the rear end. Apart from that, nothing too major, but for Bill Souza you can definitely tell what compound is quicker, because he's fallen off the face of the earth compared to Wards, and in the grasp of Nick, who has now just lapped him. And now following Nick, let's see how quick that McLaren can just pull away. You can just see going around that final corner, it's clear who's got the upper hand. As Wards a 17.8, Nick a 17.5. What about Passy in the Haas? Not quicker, but Harm, I believe that, not Harm, Spiga into the pit lanes. He thinks it is now time for the dries. It does look rather dry, but you can still see the rain is very much visible, as Harm has fallen off the cliff. He was P5 a few laps ago. He's now fighting his teammate over the likes of P6, which is not ideal whatsoever. as we are waiting this out. Probably most drivers pitting soon. As both Williams going round, that's caught me off guard. I did not see that come out too early. The last time I was on PSF2 grid was back in season 21. Very long time ago. Thank you for the commentary. Not commentary, the compliment around it. As, yeah, I'm sorry, I was caught napping, but I'm caught napping again as Provatox off in that Ferrari. Looks like he's had a little bit of an offing of his own, and now getting back on track, hoping that this is not the start of something bad. As Irene, thank you for tuning in, much appreciated, mate. Hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are based, but you can see it's indefinitely dry compound tyres, as hards are on everyone but the top two and Provatox, who unfortunately hasn't found the pit lane yet, but Nick definitely on a charge to see whether or not he can come out ahead of the Racing Bulls. If he can do so, that could be the breaking point in this race. It could completely obliterate the Racing Bulls' chances at winning here, as Provatox 10 seconds for speeding into the pit lane. I'll be honest, the race probably can't get any worse than that for the Ferraris, as Christian has just had a moment, got a bit of grass on their front left there, I can see. As out of the pits comes Provatox, as Ward's limping down the pit lane, so is Yannick, but now Nick rounding the final corner as Axel just rejoined from a little moment of their own. Some drivers rather struggling in these mixed conditions, as Nick entering the first corner, purple final sector. You can see Wards is still very much clear in that Racing Bulls by a good second and a half or so, as Spiga fastest lap of the race, as Yannick coming out in P5 behind the Mercedes, as Diogo Silva getting overtaken by NB72, the Williams up into 7th now. As if we do look at the Williams Championships, you do have Prairie Belbelbi, who bagged 8th and 9th in Baku and Austria. Then you had NB72 come home P10 in Baku. So all of them getting some points on the board, one more than the other, but not too much between them whatsoever. Only 4 points split the Williams. Hopefully that deficit does come falling down to earth come the end of today, with both of them sitting in the points. Williams will definitely be happy with the points tally as well, when they know their championship really isn't too appealing. Doesn't look like they have much of a chance entering the second half. It's still not impossible, with the maximum points you can score each race being 29. It's possible, it's just you do not look too likely, as NB72 setting the fastest lap there on the hards, and Diogo Silva sticking up with them, as Irene has said, thank you, a very wonderful day. I've definitely had a day likewise. PSF2 will always have a special place in his heart, and it's crazy to think you were one of the old gen commentators, is what I am going to call you, as you used to commentate with Connor back during lockdown for 3 races in this tier in season 21, which is crazy to see how far the league has came. Thinking back in lockdown, I was only entering secondary school, and now I'm here commentating PSGL, PSF2. I used to watch this back in lockdown, remember like Jarno Otmi or whatever going guns blazing for wins. Like, yeah, just shows how time's passed. But time has definitely passed quite quickly in this race, because it was very, very wet come the start of it, and now all the drivers only at half race distance, all bolted on with a set of dry compounds in this race, as Basso trying to put the pressure onto one of those Williams of harm, whilst Mattis Gullit and Danilo sitting in the background. The Saubers pretty sure they can sense either fear or points, or both, as Mattis Gullit is no stranger to a points finish. He's had 2 5th places this season, both of them being the only times he's finished this season. A DNF came last time out, and a failure to start in Baku as a result of not being available, which is a shame, but unfortunately this is not going to be the same story for that Sauber today, as yeah, it was definitely a long time ago. As Nick, fastest lap of the race, not a long time whatsoever, only a minute 12, only 4-5 seconds off of what we were seeing in qualifying. Kryptonite and Lewis are definitely doing a great job with this league, especially since Connor departed. All the best to you, Arun. Hope you've enjoyed my coverage so far, and I'll keep doing the same as Danilo. Brilliant lunge to the inside of Mattis Gullit, trying to pull off the switch back, going through turn 2 and 3. It's the Sauber back ahead of the Mercedes, slithering by like a snake, as Basso trying to get the throttle on the exit, see whether or not he can get close enough to the Williams. You can see the gaps closing. Is it going to close enough for a lunge? It's not, unfortunately, as they will just continue to wait for a while longer. Mattis Gullit sitting in 11th with a medium compound runner just behind us, Bill Sousa, getting lapped. This is like the only chance of him coming back into this race is the possibility of a safety car, as Ward's fastest lap out on track, 1.3 clear of Nick. We could see a fight for the win here today, but will Nick win or will Ward's win? As Spiga lapping Bill Sousa to drop him down to 4th, as Bill Sousa saying he tried to go back to the lobby, but it gave him an error every single time. That is not ideal whatsoever, as the Aston continuing to plummet down the field. As you can just see how close some of these drivers are. Diogo Silva must be loving this race. 7th in Kota, sitting 8th here today. Good points going Alpine's way in this championship. It's a shame Junkie Angle is not present today. To be fair, they have not been present since Austria, where they took a DNF, unfortunately. But Diogo Silva 1800 was quick in those first 2 sectors, as Ward's fastest man on track with an 11.6 on the board for him. He does look like he's on a roll, half a second out of Nick that time round, only with a lap fresher tyres. Really does show the capabilities of some of these drivers, as there's a yellow flag. That, I believe, is Christian, it indeed is, who is spinning back round. Looks like he got a bit on the grass on the exit, and that just sent him off at an awkward angle, finding him in a 180. As we'll find out whether he pits to retire. He's definitely pitting. He's got a bit of front wing missing as he drops to the speed. Does he opt for new tyres? Yes, he does. He goes for a hard compound and a new front wing. At least Ferrari trying to be as quick as possible in doing that. As you can see, Bill Sousa actually getting some on-track combat with the cars a lap down, as Christian and Provatox coming out quite local to each other on the racetrack as well. So this could be a fight between the Ferraris, and then also a fight up and down the field. NB72 has got priority up for P6. Can the Sauber find a way by into the first corner? Both cars using DRS given to them by the Aston Martin. Priori got close on the apex, just wasn't close enough. But who was is Mattis Gullit on Basso. He's found himself up into P9. A brilliant display from this Sauber, as they are definitely like P5s on the cards. I'm going to go for it if it's an option, and P9 is not going to be bad whatsoever for this Sauber driver. At least they keep up their 100% point scoring record for races they have finished. If I was to have said races they have done, I'd been lying, because they did of course fail to finish a week ago where I was again not present. But yeah, Matis Gullit trying to pull away from Basso now, just behind in that McLaren. He doesn't get close enough to put any threat on. 6 tenths between them. You ideally want to be about half a second quicker a lap, and within about 7 tenths to have a lunge into the first corner. And you can see there Prairie Belleville B definitely was within that, as they have just breezed their way past the Williams driver to put themselves up into P6 as Harm into the pits, getting those hard compounded tyres off of that car. We'll see whether or not they do have a chance in this race to recover and bring some points home, as I think that is what almost everyone would like to see here today. Double Williams points. We have only seen that once this season. That was in Baku, and unfortunately there's only been like 6 teams who are yet to have both cars score in a race. Those being Sauber, Red Bull, Aston Martin, Alpine, and then Ferrari, which kind of does portray how unbalanced those teams are as such. Like, it's one driver doing much better than the other in that respect, but then both those teams scoring less than 20 points in the first 4 races of the season, whereas Racing Bulls, McLaren and that, who are like the top dogs at the moment, 55 plus after the first 4. With the way things are going, they are looking at upwards of 150 come the end of this season, if they can keep their consistency up in the sky. As will this Williams be able to have a chance on Prairie, or is the Alpine behind of Diogo Silva able to maybe pounce? You can just see how close they got going through turns 8 and 9. It was quite devastatingly close, as different lines, wider lines for the Alpine, trying to give themselves as much clean air on those outside tyres, those working harder than others, as Spiga and Yannick into the pit lane. It does look like there's a pit window brewing. Here's NB72 darting into the pits to join them. So, is it going to be hard for the final stint? I'd imagine so, to take them 14 odd laps in this race. As there's NB72 limping out of the pit lane and into the grasps of possibly Harm. No, Harm's a bit too far back, but fastest lap for that Williams driver today, which is always a good sign, as Diogo Silva 4 tenths behind the Sauber. They're much closer than we saw the Williams get to that Sauber. So could we see the Alpine overtake in their possible first attempt? DRS wide open, closing in. Are they going to look? No, they won't. They had a brief thought, brief second guess, but decided it would be better they wait for another occasion. As now, do either of them pit? No. Diogo Silva, DRS wide open, no battery in use. They'll close in, won't be close enough to go for a lunge into the first corner, as Matis Gullit making a lunge into the pit lane and going a bit too quick. 10 seconds going his way. That's the second driver to meet that fate today, the only other driver to do so. P15 of Provatox, which is a shame for the Ferrari man. Bill Souza, hard compounds coming off after 13 laps, probably doing a 12 lap stint to the end, just to say he finished here today. And for the pure pride, as yeah, these drivers giving it absolutely everything they've got. Basso in P6, trying to get a run as Speaker breezes by with Wards and Nick both into the pit lane now. So where will they come out in respects to each other? Nick going for medium compounder tyres for the final 10 or so laps, whilst Wards picking out the hard compound of tyres, the white walls going on compared to the yellow walls. So is this Nick's hope to try and pursue the race win today, as Belbelby and Diogo Silva luckily coming out the right side of the pit time to Nick, as that prevents the McLaren from having to do any extra work in their charge for the Racing Bulls, as the gap 3 seconds in this race, 11 laps to spare. So are we in for a grand finish between the Racing Bulls and the McLaren? This could be pivotal in the way in which this constructors fight goes for next week in Brazil, or is it only just Nick trying to force the Racing Bulls into an error and win that way, or is it Nick thinks that's probably the only way he can go? Maybe didn't put another set of hards in the allocation, as Diogo Silva pretty sure missed that white line on the pit entry. I don't know if any of the stewards are watching and pick that up, as Yannick to the inside of Basso up into P6, yellow flags waving. I believe that was Bill Souza having a little trip off of the road in the meantime. As we are now waiting and waiting as this goes on, as that gap does not look like it's closed down after the first lap. As we are just going to continue to see that gap increasing throughout the next few moments, as it's gone from about 3 seconds to 3.4 in this lap. It's not going well whatsoever for the Papaya, as it does look like Racing Bulls have got the better here today. They had the strategy from the start, just get the place on Harm and Bill Souza and then blitz it. You could even tell how they were about 5 seconds clear before the rain closed. But this lap, Nick on a charge, 8 tenths has been found. It's definitely swinging back and forth like a pendulum, but this is one pendulum I am keeping a very close eye on, as Spiga trying to put the pressure on Belbelby, who is definitely trying to make this last as long as possible, as there's yellow flags for Provatox, who I think has a little moment with the wall. Maybe did a bit of wall dancing there. As now, does this Sauber stay out another lap, or do they pit to try and cover off Diogo Silva? They stay out, as you can see. Spiga to the inside and speeds through up into P4. No second thought about that, which, I'll be honest, does look like Spiga's favourite finishing position here in PSGL. Yellow flags being waved, this time for Christian, having a little bit of a spin, and now his teammate is starting to close in, as this Ferrari team falling apart, to to say the least, as there's Christian letting Provotox by, maybe, so they can have a bit of a fight in these dying phases here in Zandvoort. As I don't think it's going to come anymore, since Christian having a fairly poor exit out of there and into the pits. Is this going to be Christian's second DNF of the season, hitting the wall on the entry? I think it might be, as I don't see much point putting hards on for Sixac. Yes, it in fact is. That is his race. Over and done with. Yannick now on Bell B to the inside, and that is them up into P5. And NB72 now has 11 seconds to try and catch this Sauber, as they tried fighting back on Yannick, but Yannick said he is having none of it, with the gap up front 2.4 seconds with 6.5 laps to go here this evening. For those interested, PSGL, PSF1 and PSF3 have most likely just dipped into the last 50% of qualifying as a rough estimate. So if you're interested, go and check that out. As Danilo having a brief moment, he looks like he's getting back on the way in the Mercedes. As come the time this is over, you should hopefully be seeing the lights tick away for PSF1 and PSF3. If not, it will probably be 1 or 2 laps into that session for you. But the gap at the front really does not look like it's closing at a rate that means menace. So we may not see the race we were anticipating. Forward win, Matisculit speeds into the pit lane and retires from this session. Back-to-back DNFs for the Sauber man, which is such a shame regarding their 8th in this championship, 13 points, and their teammate Prairie Bell B currently sitting in 6th, which gives them 5 more points to their championship stance. That does close their gap to just 2 points in the teammate points rivalry this season. As Diogo Silva getting a bit wobbly, a few corrections through turn 8. Wasn't the most reassuring line to say the least, but for Williams, what they are definitely enjoying is P7 and P9 pretty much locked in, unless Diogo Silva either overtakes NB72 or Harm overtakes Diogo Silva, as he's the only car within 5 seconds of either of the Williams. To be fact, he's the only car within 5 seconds of both Williams, as it just shows how they are really in their own little deserted race, their own 3-horse race for 7th to 9th, which is 4th, 3 and 2 points for the teams. Williams can take these points and overtake both Aston Martin and Alpine in the constructors titles. 6 points coming out of this race compared to Alpine's 3 and Aston Martin's none, as things stand of course. But if Diogo Silva does overtake MB72, I do think those numbers change a bit, because Alpine would go to 11 and Williams would also go to 11, so you'd look at countback, which would give Alpine that position. And Diogo Silva 6/10 back, whilst an update on Nick and Ward's, it is 2.8 seconds, that gap going up and not doing what the McLaren would like it to do with 4 laps to go here in Zandvoort. Can Nick put the foot to the floor and make it consecutive wins? He won a week ago in America. He could win today to really put the pressure onto Thiago when he's absent. A man who's been leading the championship since the opener goes absent today and loses that championship lead. Make or break for his title. And for Nick, this is definitely his best opportunity to take that championship lead and go away with it with a smile on his face, knowing he just has to defend it for the final 5 races, which is Brazil, Singapore, Spa, Abu Dhabi, and then Jeddah. Believe it or not, Spa was my debut here last season, round 2. And that's crazy to think. That was November time last year. So yeah, just think about it. You've been stuck with me that long. I think you can be stuck with me another few seasons. As Diogo Silva getting close to NB72 there, as Protox having a niffy run. Not ideal whatsoever, whilst Bill Souza near enough. 2 laps down. 1 minute 50 seconds off from Protox, so he is actually 2 laps down on the Ferrari. He's only a lap down, but from the leader he is 2. That's me trying to recuperate those maths and make it make sense to me, as that gap again 3.5 seconds. However, Passy in the Haas trying to maybe be passive aggressive here in the run for 2nd place now. He's dropped within 2 seconds. That gap closing in. Could we see a last lap challenge from them, as Protox is going to probably DNF here, I would want to say, because I don't see much point pitting for 1 lap and then retiring, as Diogo Silva doesn't manage to get close enough to overtake NB72 once again, as these two are really going at it out on track for 7th here today. Whilst Passy does ideally need to find 6 temps in the next 3 corners. He's dropped it down to 4 temps. We can see as Diogo Silva chucking himself over the curbs, almost like he's playing WRC instead of F1, as that gap desperately trying to close as much as possible so he can have as good of a chance as possible to get the move on the Williams, either now or on the final lap. The attack is on. A full battery pack is stored for the Alpine, and they're going to start deploying it, whilst for NB72 they've got only about 28% of their battery, as you can just see a lovely skyline shot of these two going head to head into the final corner. It's going to be a run up towards turn 1. Full battery versus no battery. Let's see how much of an impact it makes. Diogo Silva to the inside of NB72, and he'll be clear for the first corner. That is the Alpine up into 7th. That's them putting themselves nicely into 7th in this Constructors' Championship race, and just ahead on countback compared to Williams. But it's not done there. Nick versus Passy going for 2nd, as Nick going slow. Is it a puncture for the McLaren? I don't think so, but that's given the Haas the position. But for the final time, for the 36th time here today, it's going to be Wards who crosses the line to lead and to win in Zandvoort. Take a bow for your 5th winner of season 42 of PSF2. Passy comes home P2 with Nick in P3, and Spiga will come home P4 as Haas make it a double podium with P5, much deserved. And then it's even Prairie Bell B coming home 6th, but as repercussion it's Haas who go to the top of the Constructors. Racing Bulls scored 16 points today, whilst the Haas team have managed to pull off a show and scored 18, which will give them 1 point over Racing Bulls and a good 7 points over the McLaren team for next week in Brazil, according to my provisional calculations. As unfortunately for NB72 he didn't manage to re-overtake the Alpine, and Protox has had a little moment or two. as we can officially say today is over. Think about it, guys. You've survived an hour and 20 of me basically screaming my heart out about F1 and these 16 brilliant drivers who took to the grid today. But now you can hear me shut up for once, and you can join PS F1 and F3 as I'm pretty sure their lights are just about to go out also in Zandvoort in a few seconds time, as it's Wards who wins, followed by Passy in second, Nick third, Spiga fourth, Yannick fifth, Belbelby sixth, Diogo Silva seventh, MB72 in eighth, Harm ninth, Axel 10th, Basso 11th, Danilo 12th, Provatox 13th, Bill Souza 14th, Mattis Gullit 15th, and Christian, last but not least, in 16th, with only the bottom two failing to finish today. As once again, thank you all for joining me this fine Monday evening for my sake, maybe Monday morning or midnight based off where you are. Wherever you are though, hope you have enjoyed this spectacle of an event, and this is definitely setting up to be one heck of a season come the final half, with 5 race winners in the first 5 races. The championship is indefinitely on, and it will be going all the way to the wire. But in Brazil, hopefully Thiago will make a return. He's dropped to 3rd in the standings. He's going to be hoping to pursue some revenge, regain what he's lost, compared to Nick and Passy, who both got 2nd and 3rd today. Then can Spiga maybe come back and take a win? Could we even see our 6th winner this PSGL season in Brazil? Bill Souza won in Brazil in season 41. Could he maybe make it 2 consecutive PSF2 Brazilian GP wins on the bounce? With the momentum he showed in qualifying today, I definitely think that could be the case. And the main question would be, is Racing Bulls and McLaren going to be able to recuperate, regroup, and turn around their deficit lost to Haas in the championship today? As a whole, that's been me, Harry, and I'll see you in a week's time. Goodbye.